Hello, everybody. Dr. Rick Wallace here from the Visionetics Institute, the Odyssey Project, Master Fitness 21, a number of other operations and things that are happening that I'm excited about being a part of. Of course, this alert will start going off right now. But anyway, uh, I just wanted to stop by briefly to talk with you about something that's immensely important, and that is the purging of your circle, developing a periphery, so to speak, that is filled with people who will inspire, empower, encourage, and support you in your growth and in your push to be better. Before I forget, we have had some significant success with the rapid change, the free rapid change sessions we're offering, and the executive business coaching sessions that we're offering. We're doing one intro free session on each of those. Because I couldn't put the full questionnaire for each in the box, I just put an introduction and a link to the page on the site to where you can literally go there, fill out the questionnaire, send it in to the email address listed, and get set up. And that's a one-on-one coaching session with yours truly. These sessions are compact, but they're highly intense. We have achieved some great success. I'm pretty sure some people who are watching have participated, but definitely, again, the only thing you're investing initially here is your time. It's a chance to actually get out. There's so many different things that gets in the way of us doing the things we should be doing in our life. Life gets in the way. The opinions of others gets in the way. Procrastination and fear, worry, anxiety, experience, the fear of making mistakes, the fear of failure. So many different things get in our way and convince us to settle for what we perceive to be comfort, which is truly complacency, and it creates stagnancy. And then we look up and we've lived 15, 20, 30 years, and we haven't gotten anywhere near close to the things we once dreamed possible in our lives. And we just start to sit back and live the twilight years in regret. What I want you to understand is anything you set your mind to, it's possible. If you can conceive it in your mind, that's the evidence of God that it's possible. But you have to act on it. You have to stand in it. You have to be consistently. First of all, you have to be committed to it. Then commitment is what gets you started. Consistency is what ensures that you finish. And it requires both of those things, and it requires that level of commitment. I was telling the client earlier today that it's not simply getting started. It's that commitment that has such a high level that it says, I'm either going to get it or I'm going to die trying. It's that level. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead. Like I said, you can sign up for that. There some goodies in that box. Just find something in that box that appeals to you and take action on it. Like I said, it's there. I don't want to get too caught up or sidetracked in that. So just go in there, look in the description box if you're on YouTube. If you're watching this on Facebook, look in the post box and look at what's there. Find something that works for you and go for it. But in the meantime, let's talk about purging your circle. What I can tell you is right now, I can look at you, sit down and have a talk with you, get to meet the people who you spend the time around the most, the 5 people you spend the time around the most, between the 5 and the 10 people you spend the time around the most. And I can tell you where you're headed. I can tell you what you're going to end up doing. I can tell you the limitations that you currently have on your life based on the people you have in your circle. I can tell you what you will do and what you won't do based on what you have in your circle. Why? Because you are basically the sum total or the average of the 5 people you spend the time around the most. You are the average of the people you consider you allow in your circle, in your periphery. The people in your circle have an immense impact on who you become, or what you become, what you strive for. What I remember, one of the most powerful influences in my life, my 11th grade English teacher, who was with me all the way through high school. She just adopted me and would not allow me to go. She used to always tell me when she would see me hanging around other kids in the hallway, come here, boy. And ma'am, association brings about assimilation. And what she was telling me is if you hang around them long enough, you start to act like them. You may have an influence on them at a certain level, but they'll also have an influence on you. Choose your friends wisely. Choose your business associates wisely. Choose those people in your circle. And I'm going to tell you 3 types of people that you need to purge from your circle if you ever want to really truly achieve any level of success. And I mean exceptional. I don't consider anything average or mediocre as being successful. I consider that to be a default setting in human life. Just wake up every day, go to work, show up and do what you're told, and you'll be mediocre. You'll have an average life. You'll do what most everybody else does. You'll make ends meet. You'll get somewhere. You'll take a few vacations over the course of your life, or maybe even one every year, and you'll be okay because that's where everybody else is. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about living life at a level that's exceptional, doing things that are extraordinary, not because you're better than everybody else, but just because you are simply more committed, because you are willing to do the things they are not. You are able to do and accomplish and have the things they don't have. That's what life is about. It's not about somebody being smarter, somebody having a better start than you, somebody having the right people in their corner. It's about sitting up and making up in your mind that there's something in this life you want, and there's absolutely nothing that's going to stop you from having it, and then going out and getting it at all costs. You either get it or you die trying. When you take that mindset, there's absolutely nothing that will be withheld from you. But you got to be around people who will support the mindset, who will speak into your life, who will encourage you, who will uplift you, who will empower you, who will share with you, who will connect you with people. But you don't need those who will weigh you down, who will talk down to you, who will try to, let me tell you, the one you got to get rid of first in your life is the historian. You got to get rid of the historian. The historian, you know him. All of you have a historian in your periphery and probably in your family. You know the historian. That's the one that consistently reminds you of who you used to be. See, that's the one that's consistent, can never see where you're going because they're so fixated on where you came from. They'll constantly remind you of how you didn't do well in school. They'll remind you of the fact that you were incarcerated. They will remind you of the fact that you've had 2 failed marriages. They'll remind you of the fact that you've never done well in business. They will remind you of the fact that you don't do well in math and you probably couldn't do well in finances. They've got all of the things that you've not done well in the past logged in their memory and can recall them with great specificity and with great frequency and intensity. If you let them stay around, they will constantly have you reliving your past because you will be constantly reminded of it, focused on it, and fixated on what you couldn't do when you were doing what you were doing. They won't give any credit to your evolution. They won't give any credit to your growth. They won't give any acknowledgement to the advancement of who you are as a person and how far you've come along. No, they're only concerned with reminding you of where you come from. That person is the historian. You got to get them out of your life. They have no place. They can't see beyond who you used to be in order to help you become what you're capable of being. Got to get rid of them. The next person is the vampire. The vampire is that person, they don't bring anything to the table. They are just there to suck the life out of you. You know them. You got that person too. You got that person. When they come around, every time they leave, you drain. Because they either come in to dump their problems on you, come in to ask you for your help, come in to complain about something. They never come with anything positive. They never come offering anything. They never come to lift you up. And when you look out and need them, you can't find them. The only time you see them is when they are coming to you to take something away. And that may be in the form of money. That may be in the form of emotional support. That may be in the form of a listening ear. But they don't bring anything to the table. There's no reciprocity. So there is no resurfacing of the energy you spend in lifting them up. As a matter of fact, if you don't watch yourself, you'll spend more time sleep. You'll spend more sleepless nights worrying about how they're doing than they do. You're over at your place worrying about how they're doing and they're sleeping like a baby. Why? Because when they wake up, they're just going to call you, put you on the job, and you're going to get it done for them. That is the vampire. Got to get them out of your life. Now, here's the other person, and you really got to watch this. They sound smart. They sound rational. They have all the facts and all the statistics of why what you are aspiring to do won't work. That's the psychic. They can tell you everything that is not going to happen or that's going to go wrong in your life if you try this. That's not going to work because it's not going to work because businesses fail. Most businesses fail within the first 2.5 to 5 years. That's not going to work because that market is saturated. That's not going to work because only a certain type of people are. This company already has that market sold up. All of this, that's the psychic. You got to get rid of the psychic too, because the psychic does not take into consideration your natural giftedness. The cycle does not take into consideration the fact that you are in and of yourself a unique and valuable entity that has a unique possibility to service a particular part of the population in a manner in which no one else can. Let me explain something to you. I want to tell you why each and every last one of you has the capacity to do exceptional and extraordinary things no matter where you're at right now in life. And that's because inside of you is a uniqueness that makes you you. It's unique. Nobody else does it. Nobody can do you like you because you're you. Now let me explain how that translates into being successful. See, you bring something to the table in your marriage. You bring something to the table in your parenting. You bring something to the table in your career, in your business, in your aspirations, in your need to be significant and impactful in the world around you. Let's just talk business for a second. See, because you're unique, because there's something in you that no one else possesses, when you literally tap into that and then you associate that uniqueness with your passion, that thing you would do no matter what, even if you didn't get paid for it, you would do it because you feel it, it's a part of you. Now you take that and you find out how you use that to meet a need or to solve a problem. When you solve somebody's problem and then you solve it in a way that nobody else is doing it because you're doing it from your heart, you're doing it from deep down inside, it's coming from within, you're servicing and accessing your genius to serve other people, then what happens is you deliver a product, a service, something to the people who you're helping in a way that no one else does. When you're delivering something at a high quality and you're delivering it in a way that no one can get it anyone else, you can write your check. You will be successful. You will carve a new niche in a market that currently exists. What Russell Brunson calls creating blue oceans in feeding frenzies or in red waters, you create a new blue ocean where there's no sharks feeding because you've created a new environment, a new way of delivering a solution that nobody is doing right now. And if they want it, they got to come to you. That's the uniqueness that exists in you. That's the way we were initially designed to function before we took on this corporate society in which a large group of people are working to fulfill the dream of one. It used to be people operating in their own genius, in their own uniqueness. It was the blacksmith, the jeweler, the gardener, the herder. It was somebody sitting up, this is what I'm good at, and this is where you come when you want this. If you want wool, you come to the sheep herder. If you want beef, you go to the cattle farmer. If you want greens, you go to the herbalist. What you get what I'm saying? What I'm saying is that we've got to get back to that you have that uniqueness about you, that you can go out into the world and become anything you want to become, and especially when you understand the power of giving, the power of fulfilling. When you go into a situation and your goal is to leave more value than you are charging, in other words, whatever you are charging for what you are leaving, give them more value. If you're charging them for an hour, give them an hour and 15 minutes. If you're charging them to give them what they need to make 100, give them what they need to make 200. Whatever the situation is, if you're charging them to do their yard for a week, do it for a week and a half. Whatever your business is, deliver more value than you're asking for, and you will always stay ahead because you are giving and pouring into something at a greater capacity than you're demanding. And I'm going to tell you something, life will always pay the price you demand of it when you commit to it, when you remain consistent to it, when you refuse to give up. But you got to get those people out of your periphery. You got to get rid of the historian. You got to get rid of the vampire. You got to get rid of the psychic. You need people who have either gone where you're going. Those are models. Those are people that you can look at and say, they came from where I came from. And they accomplished what I want to accomplish. Now, I'm not going to do it the same way they did it. That's them. But I'm going to look at the patterns that they created, that they've left behind, that if I follow the pattern, it's going to take me in the direction. I'll make the necessary adjustments to make it mine, but I'm going to follow the pattern because there are only a certain number of patterns of either failure or success. And if I find the pattern of success that fits for me, I take the pattern and I work it. It doesn't mean that it's going to be easy. That's something you got to get out of your mind. If it's easy, there's nothing in it. When you look at the people who have been successful in their careers as business owners, as actors, as entertainers, as philanthropists, as civic leaders, you find that they traveled a journey that traversed across difficulty, hardship, delay, disappointment, people lying on them, people undercutting them. You're going to go through all of that. I didn't say it was easy. What I said is you're built for it. See, so people ask me, what is the common element of your success? They said you wouldn't write. They said you wouldn't publish the first book. You're about to drop book number 20. They said that you couldn't start a business. You were on number 48. They said. And what is the common element that allows you to go after stuff, even when it seems like you don't have the resources, or even when it seems like everything is stacked against you? Tell me, what is it? You know, they said that you couldn't do this business. You wouldn't be able to break into this market. And yet here you are. What is it? And the common denominator is I'm relentless. I'm persistent. I'm not always the smartest in the room. I'm not the one with the resources all the time. I'm not the one who knows all the right people when I get started. I'm just a person that doesn't know how to quit. I'm a person that when I meet resistance, I'm a person that when I meet difficulty, when I meet hardships, when I am confronted with delay, I only have one response. I look myself in the mirror and I don't care what I'm facing. I tell myself, I'm built for this. I'm built for it. I've been through hardship. I lost the man that taught me everything there is to know about being a man when I was 25. My great-grandfather, my adopted father, C.D. Wallace, he left me here, but he left me with a legacy. So I was built for it. I was ready for it. I've met situations where I've gone through a divorce and I'm sitting up and I'm trying to pick up the pieces, and I could have felt down and felt sorry for myself, but I looked at myself. I said, you're built for it. I was told you're not going to be able to get that book published because the audience isn't there for it. You don't have a market big enough to take the risk to invest in it. So no publisher is going to publish you. You're not going to get it published. I'm on book number 20 because I was built for that. I'm built to hear no. I'm built to have people talk behind my back. I'm built to hear people sit up and tell me why I can't. I'm built to move against everything that moves against me. I am going to get it, or I'm going to die trying. There is no relent in me. There is no retreat in me. One of the things that if you follow me right now and you go anywhere where I've spoken in the past, more than once, at least twice, I've spoken in the past, and I step on the stage. Before I get to the podium or before I'm handed the mic, you will hear people in the crowd start to scream, no surrender, no retreat. Why? Because I'm going to say it at least 50 times over the course of the speech. And I'm going to deliver it in a way that you see it. And you're going to see it reflected in my life. No surrender, no retreat. I didn't get it because it was easy. I got it because I refused to give up. I didn't have any about, people will tell you right now, it's an ongoing joke in my circle, my periphery. It's an ongoing joke. One of the fastest ways to get kicked out of my circle is to tell me be realistic. Or let me hear you tell anybody in the circle, be realistic. Be realistic is a way of trying to squeeze somebody into your limited box, into your limited beliefs, and make them behave based on your concept of life. And that is not something I allow in my periphery. If somebody believes they can walk on water, I'll be damned if you tell them they can't. I believe if they keep trying, they keep working on it, at some point in time, they're going to master it. That's life. There is absolutely nothing if you set your mind to it and work on it and begin to gain an understanding of how things work that you can't conquer. Most of us are walking around in mediocrity because we believe the lie that that's all that we could do. Most of us believe that all you'll ever do is this. Be glad if you do this. Be glad if you can do that. If you can just go to school, get a degree, and come out and get a job making $60,000, $70,000, God forbid you get six figures, you're done. No, you're not. You haven't even scratched the surface. First of all, stop defining yourself by a bank account. Because this is what I can tell you personally. Not only have I seen it with all the people I've modeled, all the people I've studied, all the people I've helped, I've seen it in my life. You fool around and start basing your identity on your bank account, you're going to come to a moment where it doesn't look like the way you want it to look. And if your identity is buried in that money, you're going to have a rough time. But if you are buried in who you are, you can lose it because you can get it back and it doesn't bother you. I'm not saying you sit up and say, no big deal, but you sit up and say, I got this. I'm built for it. I made it once. I'll make it again. My money doesn't define me. Where I live doesn't define me. I think Jay-Z said it one time, put me anywhere on God's green earth, I triple my worth. What does that mean? It means it's not about the things. It's not about anything. It's about my will to win. It's about saying, you know what? I decided I want that thing right there, and there's absolutely no one or nothing that's going to stop. And if you get in my way, I'm good with that because you just became a part of the equation that drives me towards my destiny. Because my destiny, by definition, says that it is destined to happen, meaning that nothing you do to stop it stops it. You only ensure that it happens. I'm built for this. Purge those people. Get rid of that historian, the one that always telling you what you used to do. How you ain't never been able to do that, dog. Girl, you know you done tried that like 4 or 5 times. You probably just need to give up and let that go. You know who I'm talking about. Then get that vampire out of life, that person that always shows up with a problem they need you to fix. They need you to listen. They need you to give them some money. They need you to help them. They need you to drive them somewhere. They need you to sit down and figure out how they're going to get this taken care of and that taken care of. And you just study pouring into something not coming. Ain't nothing wrong with helping somebody. But the thing is, there are people I help, but they're not in my circle. Now, the people in my circle that I help me. It's reciprocity. So I pour in where I'm good. They pour in where they're strong. We lift each other. We encourage each other. We inspire one another. We fan each other's flames. We work in unity to build each other up. Now, I have people who don't have anything to offer me that I help, but they're not in my circle. I don't look down on them. They're just not in a situation to be a part of a synergy in which everybody is both benefited and contributing. So I go and I serve people in the community. I help people and I don't charge them anything. I counsel kids who are going through traumatic experiences like being victims of incest, molestation, and abuse and abandonment. I do that at no charge, and I'm not asking anything of them or their parents. And it's very rarely even talked about, but I'm making a point here. But they're not in my circle. See, I've learned from experience and from experiential observation and from academic study, I've learned that I become the average of the people I have in my circle. So I can't lower my average by bringing somebody that's a non-performer into my circle. I can't bring a negative person into my circle because they lower my average. Now, as a general rule, what do I like to have a certain number of people in my circle that have achieved beyond the level I've achieved in the areas of life that I'm striving to get better in at any given moment. Whether that's in business, whether that's in finance, whether that's in my relationships, in my marriage, in my parenting. I'm looking for people who are doing it at a level greater than I'm doing it. I need those people My grandfather always said, boy, if you're always the smartest person in the room, you're doomed. I don't care how smart you are. If you're always the smartest person in the room, you're doomed. And so I am that kind of person that I don't need my ego stroked. So it's not about me being the smartest person in the room. I'm one of them people, call me arrogant, call whatever you want to. I stroke my own ego. And I teach my clients the same thing. If you don't believe in yourself, if you don't have enough confidence in yourself, nobody else is going to believe in you. If you don't sit up and know who you are, if you can't look at yourself and say, I'm not even at a point now where I got a beast mode. That was a point I used to talk about it a lot. Beast mode. I'm just a beast. Forget a mode. I'm on grind all the time. I'm on conquer. I've got the attitude of a lion all the time. I mean, I'm winning and I don't fail. It just means that in order to stop me, you're gonna have to kill me. That's it. Anything I get started on, I'm gonna get it eventually. Sometimes it takes longer than others. I'm good with that though. My thing is, I've learned to measure the progress in small increments. So when I don't get the big thing immediately, I don't fall apart because I see I didn't get it, but I'm not where I was yesterday. I've learned how to progress in understanding the importance of gratitude first. You cannot win in life without a heart of gratitude. You cannot win in life if you're always complaining and whining and pointing fingers and talking about what somebody did to you. I understand. I know there are some of you that have been victims of incest, childhood molestation. Some of you that never knew your father. Some of you that didn't know your parents. Some of you that were beaten for breakfast, lunch, and dinner by the people who should have protected you. Some who were laughed at and talked about. There are some of you that have gone out and been forsaken and mistreated by the one you gave your heart to. I understand that. I've experienced a lot of that myself, but let me explain something to you. At some point, you got to step away from it and get far enough away from it to understand that while you did not control or cause that thing to happen, you have a responsibility to yourself, to your design, to your purpose, and to your designer to step out of it and step into something that actually represents who you are. Stop whining, stop complaining. Let me explain something to you in a way that it was explained to me a long time ago when I had a problem with something somebody did to me when I was a child. And it hurt. I wanted that person to be there for me more than anything in the world, and they never were. And I remember as a teenager, and it's kind of funny, it's right before it passed. It was my father. I never knew my father. You've heard this story if you listened to me before. I never knew my father. My father, the first time I saw him in my life was at his funeral. He died when I was 14. When I was 13, I had a coach, a football coach, sit down and say, you got to let that anger go, son. You got too much talent. That anger is going to destroy you. He says, you're holding on to something because you're angry because of something somebody else did. It doesn't reflect you. Who they are is not a reflection of you. It's not your responsibility to carry the weight of that. And then they told me this. They said, you having hatred for them, thinking that having hatred and bitterness and anger bottled up inside of you because of what they did, thinking that it's hurting them is like you drinking poison and hoping they die. It's just like you drinking poison and you're hoping they're going to die from it. You're destroying you from the inside out. You're not letting them go. You're not letting it go because you're trying to benefit them. You're not letting it go because of some honorary thing, because everybody says you're supposed to forgive. You're letting it go because the weight that you've been carrying, holding on to it, has been weighing you down and sucking the life out of you and taking away valuable energy you need to have committed to your growth, your advancement, your elevation. They made their choices. Now you've got to make a choice to rise up out of it. So I get people I can look at and model, but I also have some people that I consider my peers. my colleagues, people who are operating on the level that I'm operating on, successful, doing some things, but got so much more in their mind they want to do. And we inspire one another. We encourage one another. We look at each other. We create an energy. We create a force. And then I have a small sector of people that I mentor, that I have in my periphery. Now, they can't give me what I can give them, but they can give me something I can't give myself or I can't give them. Most of the time they're younger. They got the youth. They got the energy. They got this unabated ability to imagine and dream. And I get to tap into that. I get to tap wisdom, and they give me that energy. I give them wisdom. They give me that energy. They give me something that says, I'm pouring my legacy into something that will outlive me. But see, they bring something to the table. They're not a vampire because they can't deliver what I can deliver to them, because they're delivering something to me that I need. That's the power of it. That's the awesomeness in it. I get rid of the historian that constantly reminds me of all of my past failures and shortcomings. They have no place in my life because they can't let go of the past. They can't they can't grasp the idea that I've grown. They can't move into what I'm trying to move into because they're fixated on something that is long gone. I can't deal with the vampire because they literally drain the hell out of me. Every time I hear their name, they suck the life out of me. And it's hard fighting to climb a mountain that's monstrous already when you're starting your journey drained. So I got to get rid of them. And then that psychic that already knows I'm going to fail before I even start. They're already quoting all the reasons why people don't make it. I'm not them. I can't speak for why that business for that brother didn't work. I can't tell you that when I get started with this business, that it won't hit some bumps and bruises and that it won't have some difficult moments. But what I can tell you is I'm going to push it through or I'm going to die trying. There is no retreat in me. There's no turnaround in me. For you Christians, check this out. There's this part in Hebrews. You know, everybody knows Hebrews 11:1. You know, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. And then it goes down in verse 6 of chapter 11, and it says that without faith, it's impossible to please him. But let me take you back to the part that I love the most, is in the end of the 10th chapter. It says that his soul finds no pleasure in those who draw back to perdition. In other words, when you draw back, when you retreat, when you give up, when you step back, you literally don't step back into safety as you think. You step back into destruction. You step back into a place where you are totally being pulverized and shrank. And the more you step back, the more you retreat, the less fortitude and confidence you have to move forward. And one day you find out you don't even want to fight anymore. You just gonna sit there and let life happen. Says, soul finds no pleasure in those who draw back to perdition. I just kept reading. I'm like, whoa, no pleasure. See, I don't care how you see God. That's not my job to tell you how to see God, how to relate to God. You may call it the universe. You may call it life. You may call it God. You may call whatever the infinite intelligence and design of this universe is to you. You better know you have a purpose in it. You better know that you're here for a reason. You better know that's too much order in this universe for it to be an accident or a coincidence. You better know that there's purpose, and where there is purpose, there's power. There's functionality in your design because it's a reflection of your purpose. If you want to know the purpose of something, study design long enough and you figure it out. I can give you anything, and if you look at it, hold it, touch it long enough, you'll figure out what it's meant for, even if you don't know, because design is reflective of purpose. So you start to understand yourself. You start to study your stuff. You start to see what I'm naturally good at, what I'm gifted at, what I'm drawn to, what I'm built for, what people normally tell me I'm just great at and I don't even try. Oh, you're starting to find something. You're starting to connect to something. You're starting to find your purpose. You're starting to see your value. You're starting to understand that you're just not here to survive, that it's more to life than just surviving, that there's some reason you're here and that nobody can do it like you do it. But you got to get those bloodsuckers and historians out of your life, those psychics with nothing but bad predictions. I hope that there's something you've been able to gain from this, but you've got to understand that you are the average of the 5 to 10 people you spend the most time around. Take time to sit back and evaluate. Who am I talking to the most? Who am I hanging out with the most? And see, you can't mistake a person that's fun to be around with a person that's good to be around. There's a difference. Somebody can make you laugh. Somebody can do a lot of things that'll make you feel like they're fun. But be careful with the little subtle things that they say. Be careful with the behaviors, because see, it's the behaviors, it's the rituals, it's the habits, it's the patterns, it's all of those things that will determine where you're going. And as my teacher used to tell me, son, association brings about assimilation. Euripides, who was also quoted by Paul in I believe it's 1 Corinthians, Euripides said, "Do not be deceived. Evil company corrupts good habits." Do not be deceived. Evil company corrupts good habits. Paul quoted it in the first book, or his first epistle or first letter to the church in Corinth. And what you have to understand is evil company corrupts good habits. If you're around someone long enough, I don't care how good you are, some of you will rub off on them, but some of them is going to rub off on you. And that's not what you need. You need positive energy. You need somebody challenging you. And I'm not talking about yes men either. I'm not talking about people that don't think your crap don't stink. I'm not talking about people like that. I'm not talking about people that's going to tell you you're right when you're wrong. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about people that's telling you that probably wasn't a good idea, but you got this. In other words, even when they see you make a mistake, they still tell you you got this. They're not going to tell you you didn't make a mistake. They're just going to tell you, even though you made a mistake, you got this. I believe in you. We're going to figure it out. Oh man, I can tell you sometimes when my dad was alive, when I was a young man coming into it, trying to figure out marriage and figure out my professional career and what I was going to do as a young man, I'm trying to figure it out, and I go like, oh, I think I'm really screwed up. He said, you got this. We going to figure it out. You got this. We gonna figure it out. And he was planting seeds. I'm talking about some of the wisest lessons I ever learned in life came from a second grade dropout. He was the son of a sharecropper. He was not. You gotta think this is my great grandfather. This is my grandmother's father, and he was the son of a sharecropper. And at the age of 7, the second grade, he had to leave school to go work in the fields with his dad to make ends meet. So he never got past the second grade, but I never met a man with more wisdom, a man that knew so much. He taught me everything. He taught me how to work on cars. He taught me how to work on the house. He taught me how to do drywalling. He taught me how to do roofing. He taught me how to change brakes, change rotors, change starters, change oil, do alternators, do head jobs, do valve jobs. He taught me all of that growing up. And he said, men do things with their hands. So I don't care how smart you are. Know how to do some things with your hands, because there'll be a time, if nothing else, you will need a place to escape. And you will be able to work with your hands to escape. It may not be how you make your living. That's fine. But you need to learn how to work with your hands. And then it's kind of funny because my wife will tell me, Matt, I love when you do stuff with your hands. Now, she's the person that told me, man, your mind attracted me. But when I see you fixed up, it's like around the house, man, don't call nobody. I'm going to fix it. Why? Because my dad, I can do plumbing. I do the doors. I do the floors. I change the brakes on the car. It's like, babe, we're going to take the car to get the brakes done. Not this year. I'm doing it. I just felt like doing it. And I did it. And it all came. Everything is possible. And I didn't know it then, but he was just stacking little bitty things. He was teaching me how to do cut yards, do things. He's teaching me to be successful. Every time I do something, more confidence, more confidence. Then it got to the point where, shoot, man, if I learned it, I want to do it, I do it. And then I look at him. I mean, when you got a dude that grew up doing the height of racism in Jim Crow, and yet accomplish the things that he accomplished, and to sustain the respect of character in the way he handles himself. He wasn't a tap dancing, yes sir, yes sir, yes sir type person. He spoke his mind. And he lived his life based on his terms to the best of his ability and knowledge. And I look at him and I'm going like, I ain't got no, I can't even try to present an excuse for failure in life. Not following that. Find you somebody. If you don't have that person in your life already, find somebody. I'm telling you, you don't even have to make a relationship with them. Find somebody that's doing what you're doing, that lived a life that is parallel to yours, and study them. Read their books, read their biography, listen to them talk in interviews, study them. They're going to tell you in their story how they made it, how they overcome, what they did. They're going to introduce their pattern, learn their pattern. Life is about frequency, rhythms, and patterns. You get in rhythm. That when you're in rhythm, you find everything that seems to be flowing. Learn how to find the rhythm more often and hold it for longer. That's where you get the most out of it. Find the pattern that allows you to find the rhythm and hold it for the longest time, and you get the greatest amount out of life. It's rhythm. Everything is frequency and energy on rhythm. You're built for this. You got this. But you got to make sure you surround yourself with people that will fan your flames, that will lift you, that will encourage you, that will speak into your life in a way that when you're feeling a little deflated, you become inspired and motivated again. Those are the people you need. You absolutely need them. Don't buy into this, and I'm done after this. Don't you dare buy into this self-made bull crap. I'm a self-made millionaire. I'm a self-made man. I'm a self-made woman. I did this on my own. You a lie is what you are. I don't know anybody that stepped out there and nobody helped them. Nobody encouraged them. Nobody gave them advice. Nobody gave them a loan when they, come on now. No, that time when nobody knew you were struggling but you, and that person came along and say, man, don't worry about it. Explain it to you. Nobody ever heard about it. You never heard about it again. But you were able to pay your rent. Because while you were out there fighting, somebody slid a little something to you. Every last one of us are sitting on something somebody did for us that held us long enough for us to stand up and get to the next level. So don't buy into that self-made bullcrap. Find you somebody that will fan your flames. Find you somebody that will encourage you. Find you somebody that will tell you better than you can tell yourself that you got everything you need in you. Don't sit around moping in misery, whining and complaining when there's things out there you could be doing. Get rid of them suckers that will drain you. Get rid of them. Get rid of them. Love them from a distance. But you can't have them in your circle. You can't have them in your periphery. You can't have them that close. They're a threat. I forgot who said this. I think it was Jim Rohn that said, so many people meet destructions at the hands of their friends and their loved ones. And he followed it with a real simple analogy. He says, if you're drinking coffee and your worst enemy puts sugar in your coffee, nothing happens except your coffee gets sweeter. But if your best friend puts strychnine in your coffee, they'll kill you. It's not the intent all the time. We look at intent and we think, well, they didn't mean it. It's a lot of people dead behind people who did things they didn't mean to do. Your job is to protect yourself so that you can grow and become greater and be an inspiration and a mechanism of empowerment for others. That should be your ultimate goal. Your goal should leave a legacy that says you touched lives, you inspired people, You lifted people. You empowered people. You leave a legacy that speaks for you long after you're gone. That's what you're building, is your legacy. Look, I love you guys. I got to get off of here. I absolutely appreciate you sharing your time with me, dropping in. I hope that I gave you something to work with. I hope that you have something that you can stand on, or you can take and you can move with. Again, there are a few gems in that post box or that description box, depending on where you're watching this at. Dive in there and find something that works for you. There are a couple of free sessions offers in there. Go for that. If you got something you want to go ahead and you get committed on, that's the Power of Paradigms course, which is the #1 seller. And you get to manage that course on your own, but you also get several encounters and you get to work with me in that. And then there's, the sweepstakes for the book. You buy the book now, you register for a free full coaching session. So, I mean, there's a lot going on in that box. But whatever you do, get off of this thing with a mindset that it's possible. I don't care how big it is. I don't care how huge it is. I don't care how crazy people think it is. I don't care how outrageous people think it is. I stand by this. Stephen Furtick said this in his book, Son, Stand Still, and I believe it I live my life like this every day. He said that if the vision you have for your life isn't so huge that it intimidates you, there's a good chance it's insulting God. And that's how I feel. If it doesn't intimidate you, if you don't look at it when you wake up in the morning, oh my God, what was I thinking when I came up with this goal? What was I thinking when I came up with this vision? What was I thinking when I committed to this? If that's not what's happening, you're not dreaming big enough. You're not thinking big enough. You're not stretching big enough. You're not reaching or looking and striving for something. It ought to be intimidating. It ought to make you feel like if I don't get up at 4, I'm not going to get it done. If your vision doesn't create a state of urgency in your life, it's probably not pleasing to God, your designer, your creator, the universe, whatever you want to call it. You got a purpose here, which means that purpose has something that's sitting up monitoring your progression. And I guarantee you, whatever you want to call that thing that's monitoring you, it's not happy if you're sitting around hiding behind comfort. Make it happen. For those who want to check out that stuff, give me a holler, send that email, reach out or whatever. Let's make something happen. Whatever you do, get out there and do something. Make a difference in this world. Love you guys. I got to go. Like I say, I'm going to dial in. I'm encouraging you to do the same thing. Peace.